So we've let him off the tether now. He's been on the tether about, oh god, I don't even know, probably about half hour or so. But these fields, again, they've been completely abandoned. Everyone used to walk over here. But good boy, Arch, well done. So it's a good chance just to let him run around, let him burn off some of that excess energy without being too distracted by anyone else or any other dogs. It's really wet out today. It's been raining all morning, all night even. When I left the house at, what was it, about 3:15 this morning, it was absolutely kicking down with rain. And I got back about 7:30. It was still raining, but luckily it's cleared up a bit now. But everywhere is absolutely soaked. And I've got all my waterproofs on, but already, we've only been out an hour, already I'm soaked. I can feel my jeans underneath, all wet. But I've got waterproofs on, so it's probably sweating more than anything else. But yeah, he's going to get absolutely filthy today. But it's still really warm, so we've still got to watch out for them not overheating or anything, because it is still really warm today. And they say it's going to go up to about 22 degrees by about 10 o'clock. So don't want to burn him out too much before we get near some water. But he seems relatively calm already. Right, Beggs? And again, it's good to come places like this where there's no distractions for him, because he does still get stimulated by other dogs and stuff and people. So it's good for him to just be away from all that and get him to use his brain a bit more and his nose. And it's a perfect training for him, just for him to calm down and stuff when he does come into contact with other people and dogs. The more you stay away from people at the younger age, in his younger ages, and introducing them to other dogs in a controlled environment, the easier it is to manage as he gets older. But a lot of people, they try and do it all at once. They try and interact their dog in the park with other dogs straight away, and then they get all frustrated and when the dog doesn't listen. But people seem to forget that a dog park, or any sort of park, everyone walks their dog in the park. And you see them mindlessly walking around, all going around the same way. They always go clockwise. I've always noticed that. Always go clockwise around the park. And if you also see it as well, if there's a load of people going anti-clockwise, the next people to come in, they seem to follow like sheep. It's really weird. But yeah, getting back to it, digressed a bit there. But yeah, people forget that everyone walks their dogs in the park, so the amount of pheromones that are left in the park is so intense for any dog that No, it's no wonder they start misbehaving. And pheromones from a dog, how they drop their pheromones is by their pee. So you see dogs constantly peeing everywhere, little spurts here, little spurts there, and what they're doing is they're marking their territory, and it's like a human being leaving a business card behind. And for other dogs, what that does is it tells other dogs all about the dog that's peed there. Tells them about what breed they are, what their mentality is, if they walked in a pack, their social dominance levels. Tells another dog everything. But because so many dogs walk in a park, you've got hundreds of thousands of those pheromones in there. So dogs go crazy because that's all they're smelling, and that's why they start misbehaving in dog walking parks, is because of the stimuli of all the other people and their dogs walking around, plus all the pheromones and the scents and stuff like that, just sends their brain into a like loopy. So I don't like walking in parks too much, and if I do, I just keep them on the lead and just get out of there as quick as I can. It looks like we're getting a bit of rain. If it gets any heavier, I'll have to put the camera away. But yeah, the pheromones in the park, not many people understand that or get it or even realise it. But I'd say at least 90% of your dog's misbehaving in the park is because of that. Just think of how many, like if you got 10 people walking around there with their dogs, they probably go there every day, probably twice a day, and they do the same routine, walk round the same way, and you'll notice, especially if you walk your dog in the same place every time, you'll start to notice that your dog will pee and sniff everywhere that it peed and sniffed the day before. Just keep an eye on that. If you walk somewhere regularly with your dog, try and remember all the major stopping points and watch the next day how your dog repeats that over and over again, and you'll see that there's a pattern. They always do it, and what they're doing is they're making sure that their business card is still there, their pheromones are still there, and they want to see if other dogs have come and tried to mark his territory. And if another dog has peed where he's peed, which is normally the case, he will then pee again over that same spot. And they do that over and over again every single day. It's quite fascinating to watch. But it does take a good memory to remember stuff like that. But I notice it all the time. And especially when I go take my dogs hunting. If you take your dogs hunting and they make a kill somewhere, they always go back to that kill spot and they look to see if there's another kill there, and it could be months and months later and they still go back to that same spot over and over again. But yeah, it's quite funny how a dog's brain works. Hey! Hey! Good lad. Good boy, well done. But when you start to notice stuff like that with your dog, you'll start to realise that what it is a routine, and dogs need routine, especially if you want them to start behaving a certain way. If you start mixing up the routine too much, they become confused, and again that can lead to problems. So when you're trying to deal with something that the dog's doing wrong, as long as you go the same way, do the same thing over and over again, and be patient and persistent, you'll start to see that the problems that you're having start to dissipate. But it's all about routine, doing the same thing over and over again. Obviously, if it's not working, you have to change it up. But yeah, if you get the routine right and you start to master your dog's behaviour, because body language comes into it a lot as well. If you start to understand canine behaviour and body language, training your dog to do what you want is very, very simple. But it's something most people just overlook, because a lot of people nowadays, their dogs are like accessory items. It's like having an iPhone or latest handbag and stuff like that. People treat dogs as accessories, and they forget that they're dogs. I see it all the time. Like, they either treat their dog like an accessory or they try and treat their dog like a human, and both of those things are detrimental to a dog's behaviour. Absolutely detrimental, because a dog is a dog. It's a wild animal that reacts on instinct, whereas human beings can think beyond beyond the instincts. A dog can't. It always lives in the moment. So you have to be able to control that moment. Hey, hey, good lad, good boy, well done. And body language and canine therapy comes into it a lot. Chase, leave her alone. It's starting to warm up now. Got all my plastics on, I can feel myself dripping underneath them. So this is not good for me. But hopefully the skies will clear up in a little while and I can strip down a bit, and the dogs don't care. If anything, it's good for them because it keeps them cool. Archie's loving it. It's the long grass. They love the long grass. They love to play in it and run through it and stuff. Hey! Hey! Here! Hey! Hit! Hit! Good boy! Well done! Good lad! So again, we're just keeping an eye on the boundary there, because he obviously saw or heard something, and his instincts is to go and find out what it is. But just one call, stopping what you're doing and kind of walking the other way, and then telling him to follow you, always brings him back, unless he's overstimulated by another dog. So again, this is why we do this in this sort of environment with nothing around, is to get him to master that recall, get him listening to you, so that eventually when you're around other dogs and people, it rubs off on him and he won't misbehave too much. But you can tell there's been some heavy rain overnight because all the grass is really flat. I camped over here over the weekend, and yeah, it was all standing up. It was almost waist height, but it was really hard to walk through as well. But now that the rain's been, it's flattened it all down a bit, which is good. Makes life a bit easier. So I'm going to put the camera down for a little while because there's nothing going on here. But we'll get some more footage when we can.